Welcome to this lesson plan presentation on inquiry-based learning. Inquiry, if you're British. Oh, and I'm going to throw in a bit of discovery-based learning as well, because I think they go well together. I am queen of the classroom. This is like a teacherocracy, and you're not allowed to ask questions or question what I ask you to do. Here are the classroom rules. Rule number 2. Take notes. Why don't you have your notebook? Where is your writing utensil? Can't you read what is written? Sometimes that's how my students feel. It says, everything I write on the board is important. Classroom rule number 3. Memorize everything. That's the only way to learn math. Wait. Huh? Just stop. Why? I'm giving you everything you need to know, and I don't have time to stop. We have so many things to cover. This is the way I learned, and I'm fine. See? But it's so boring. We just ate lunch, and you're putting us to sleep. Can't we just try something else? Okay. But if I'm going to try something else, you have to help. Do you have any suggestions? And thus begins the journey to math enlightenment. Cue Star Wars music. Why did I pick inquiry-based learning? After doing a quick YouTube search on IBL, I came across a video about R.L. Moore, the pioneer of IBL. He walked into his classroom at university and wrote a question on a board. And then he walked out. The students not only had to figure out what he wanted, but also discover what was being asked. And, well, I find this kind of intriguing, but I'm not sure how I would have taken it. As an 18-year-old freshman, wow. But what an interesting way to start a class. And I was also very interested in the TED Talk by Dan Finkel. This is how I would like to run my classroom. Number 1, I'd like to start with a question or perhaps even an answer. Let the students figure out what the question might need to be. And we're not the answer key. Although it's sometimes difficult to get the kids to use their brains instead of ours, that kind of is our goal, right? We kind of need to say yes to the students' ideas. I really like when a student responds incorrectly to a question because it requires them to defend their solution or reasoning, and it often leads to a light bulb moment where they realize that their logic may not quite have been correct. Well, Dan's last point was have fun and play, and I'm trying very hard to help my students enjoy math as much as I do. It's a puzzle and that needs an answer, and perhaps I have an answer that I need a question for. Dan Finkel's last point, this was his 4th point, but it's my favorite, so I'm going to add it last. I really enjoy to see my students persevere when they're struggling. You can almost see those gears moving. Oh man, when that light bulb goes off, I know I did something right. And by right, I mean that I let them make the discovery on their own. There is no better way to learn something. It's really why I became a teacher. So we all have these mathematical standards, and I really think they're pretty great. Actually, when I first came across them, I thought, "Oh, mercy, what do they want me to do now?" But when you really delve into what they mean, they're pretty important, and they're kind of fun, actually. For the first one, IBL will be able to help me understand what my students are missing so I can help them to make sense of the problem. Number two, I think of reasoning abstractly as thinking outside of the box, and IBL allows the students to think for themselves without preconceived notions, but using prior knowledge, and have quality arguments with me or with their classmates. Since IBL requires a person to come up with their own ideas and have discussions with their peers, it fits perfectly into mathematical practice number three. Now, modeling is a bit different for inquiry-based learning. I think of modeling as I do, we do, you do. For IBL, it would be less I do and more of we do, you do. The next set of mathematical standards is using the appropriate tools. Well, using tools such as graphing calculators and the internet appropriately and strategically is key. I often tell my students to use their calculators to help them cement their answers, but certainly don't use it as a crutch. I also tell them, and sometimes but not always, I show them how to search for help with the assignment. Sites such as Khan Academy and YouTube. I stress getting help to understand, not just finding the answer without fully understanding why something is the answer. Attending precision means that they need to be aware of what they're looking for. Does the answer make sense for the problem you're doing? An example would be the Pythagorean theorem, and perhaps forgetting to square root as the last step. Does that length make sense? I have a funny story about this. My pre-algebra class was using indirect measure to find the distance across a pond at a zoo. The students set up the proportion correctly, and it got the correct number. When I asked him what the units were, he looked in the book, thought about it for a second or two, and said, "Gorillas." I look at the last two together. The students should ask themselves, what do we already know and what have we already seen that will help us figure out what we need to know? For my references, I mostly use YouTube for most of my references. I've looked up reports and some papers on IBL and some with discovery-based learning too. And I'll determine how to use these two. They'll help me learn how these two learning styles will help. Thank you.